All right. How we doing, everybody? Let's see if we get this thing rocking and rolling. We got our local jester in tonight. So, all right, we're gonna wait for some people to hop in. Like I said, we're gonna go through basic of XCS, stuff like that. It's just how everything is, where things are at, what things do what. Um, we're primarily P2, P2S, F1, F1 Ultra, S1. You need some help with the M1. I know somebody you can contact. So unfortunately, I do that as the one laser I do not own. How is it going, too old? Hi, Jacob. Like I said, we'll give some stuff going through, get this going. Some of the updates, I definitely like some of the new updates. Some things are good, some things are not what I was hoping. So we'll go over them with everybody and see what everybody else thinks. Like I said, I have 5 lasers open right now, so we can look at the settings and all that stuff on all those. So, sorry guys, I'm gonna go back and forth between reading the chats, and I do have my wife here help me. So if you guys put a question in the chat, we'll always try to get back to it. Uh, I have a bad tendency of doing that, so one of those things. Like I said, we'll listen to people hop in here. We are doing good, staying busy for sure. Things are actually starting to pick up. Shows are starting to pick up. So we got a lot of craft shows. I got a couple weeks off, and then we have a 2 day, and then a couple more weeks off, and then a couple more. So then our farm market starts too. So it all keeps us busy all the time. So then the way finish out school year, all that good stuff. So yeah, definitely no snow. Definitely hitting the 70s now. So we're loving it. Jacob said hi. I don't know if you guys could hear or not, but but yeah, like I said, we're gonna go through all these new things and find things that have changed a little bit. So I know a lot of people have kind of act like they're burning down the ship a little bit with this new update. Again, I'm all for updates. I love them. I will go through them without a problem. I will always update. Again, you should always save the old version on your laptop just in case. But and then also never update before a big show. If you got a bunch of stuff you got to do, don't update. Just run your stuff and then update. It's just a just in case. So but the last few have not been any major issues. If anybody's got any questions or concerns about all that stuff, we can go over that too. So again, if you're in there and you got questions, please throw them in the chat. Like I said, we'll go through that stuff and here, there, we can go over masking. Again, I'm gonna kind of like cover a little bit of everything. So there's gonna be a lot of stuff. We'll probably go for about an hour and a half. So again, if you don't stay for the whole time, that's awesome. If you do, it's awesome. It is being recorded, so you can go back and watch it later. It will be on the page. So I might try to go back and actually put tags in there this time. We'll see how ambitious I get. So guess we'll hop in here. So I'll find the right button. Someday I'll bring my stream deck home and we'll actually do this the right way. That tape button, tell you. Sorry, I always get one button that covers up my layer level and it drives me absolutely crazy when I do this with Zoom. I either need to change up and not use Zoom or but it works. It works well for me. So I just got to remember how to hide this one. That didn't change it. figure it out. We'll figure that out. I'll get there. Not sure what you guys are seeing. That's the only thing I still getting used to this stuff. I've been doing this as many times as I do. I'm still bouncing around, seeing what's what and what you guys see and what I see. So, all right, that button's gonna drive me absolutely nuts. Put this up here. Appreciate it, too. Sorry, I'm reading questions already, guys. I shouldn't. We'll go through this stuff. I want people that are on, again, new people that are on. We're gonna hop through this XCS. I have P2, P2S, S1, F1, F1 Ultra. Right now, we'll go through the basics of XCS. I just like it because it's a nice big screen. On P2. So we'll start at the home screen. Obviously, this is where you log in XCS. This is where you get all your recent. So you'll have up to 10 recent files. You can scroll back and forth for. It's very handy, that file, that recent file, that old file. I'll try something, see if this still does this or not. It doesn't. Okay, so this stays pretty much there now. That's your recent files. So it used to be if you right click on the logo, it would give you your recent files, but absolutely that does not do that no more. This is design find. So if you're just again new to XCS, great tool to have. Go through, find something to play with. Some of them will show you how to exactly do it. Some of them don't. But they give you settings. They give you stuff to do. They're very handy just to get your hands wet, feet wet. Get into the machine. Get into the laser. Don't be scared of the laser. That's all I got to say. I mean, all else fails, go faster. Never go slow with high power. That's all I gotta say. Always go on the fast side if you're worried about fire. I've been doing it for 2 years. I've been lucky, knock on wood. I have not had the issue. So it's being by your laser and not being scared to use it. You got to do stuff to learn. I know a lot of people hop on these things and ask for questions and ask for help, and sometimes you just got to throw some wood in there and start cutting. You'll be surprised what you find. Sometimes it's stuff that actually I just found a tip today when we were going through some stuff, and it was actually an interesting tip that I didn't even know about. Somebody found out, so we'll go over that to do with the text. So, but again, design spice. There is prime projects also, so there's ones you can pay, kind of like Etsy. Same difference. Some of them might be on Etsy, so it's one of those things. It's definitely handy. It's handy to have. So there is a larger design find. This will actually take you to the website. I'm not sure. Go back to MySpace. So MySpace is kind of like xTool's version of Dropbox, OneDrive. You are limited so much. If you delete one out, you actually get more space. I think you can order more if you want. So again, it's the same as those things. If you guys want to use it, so that's what this is for. You can upload from your computer. This will again go to your tablet, your phone. Again, you can save those ones you save up to the MySpace area. And it all goes by your login. So this is our login for xTool. So that's what that's for. Obviously a nice way to get to the support center. Highly recommend. Things are getting better. And, I had the ability to meet Stein. He is the general manager. Jacob, tell me if I'm wrong. At the California plant, awesome guy. He's definitely helping things out, changing directions, getting support. It's going to be very beneficial to xTool. So he's a really good guy. So that's going to start ramping up. Material easy set. Let's click on this real quick. I've never clicked on that one. I know that the other one is, but so you have shared, you have, this is people have put in, I think, and then this is featured by xTool. So, and you get this in your main list too, and we'll go over that. See, that's too good. See, if you ever get lost in this, because sometimes it happens, there's a nice little X button right here. This is the one that gets you out of it. There's an academy, so if there's something else you guys want to go through, again, they're very basic stuff, but they're definitely helpful tools, stuff like this. Yes, USGM. Thank you, Jacob. So back to home. Obviously, there'll be information up here at the top, contests that we're doing. So again, you can have up to 6 different tabs open across the top. I got 5, and I have 5 different lasers connected at this time. So again, 6 is your max you can have. You can have them all the same laser if you want. You can have all F1 files all open on across the top, and they will all be connected. It's a nice feature. Just got to pay attention where you're at. So again, we're kind of going to just work across our stuff here. Obviously, this is your setting menu, your main menu, your files, open project or a new project. I know this plus is a new project also. So there's a bunch of different ways to get to the same thing. So I might repeat myself a little bit with that stuff. Always go to open file and you hit the plus. That's not open. That's always new. It's one of those things I even still do. Open project, import image. Again, there's another, we'll go over that. There's another, again, all these have icons usually too. They all have quick keys also. Your close, your save. If you want to rename the file, so this up here now says untitled. If I click rename, it'll obviously change. And export SVG. So whatever if you don't have nothing selected on your screen and you have something there, it will export your entire screen. If you select something and hit export SVG, it will export just what you have selected. So something tidbits. Edits, obviously your normal cut space, basic stuff. We don't need to go over that. Again, there's 5 different ways there's gonna be icons once we get some stuff on the screen. That's why everything's grayed out right now, because there's nothing on the screen. And maybe we'll go over the stuff when I get to something on there. Same thing here. Those are all things that will be across the top of the screen here in a minute, but they're all, again, you can get from this area also. Same thing with this. So this here, you can show high grid. You want to turn the grid off. I know somebody did ask that earlier if you could do that. That's actually, I thought I knew I could change the size, but I couldn't remember if I could change the grid. That's actually handy because now this will help you send like examples to customers and stuff without having those grid lines anymore. So that's that. So you can either make a medium or dark if you don't like the grid lines. Obviously help. There's a full user guide, and then settings for XCS. So this is all your XCS settings. Every laser, it doesn't matter the laser now. This is only for XCS. This has nothing redundant to the lasers that you have. Obviously, this is where you change millimeters and inches. Control K. If you're one of those people that like swap back and forth, you can. That's the same thing. Auto snapping. These are the 2 that I use probably the most, because there's some features that are always going to be in millimeters. That doesn't matter even if you are in inches. There's a couple things in there. I know like kerf offset is always going to be millimeters. You got to go by millimeters. If you guys want to know, 25.4, if you times that by your number, or divide, I don't remember which way it is. So that's the division of that. Hotkeys, there's a whole list. I'm not going to bring them up just because I don't have it sharing. If you want it, that's where you go. Get a full list. Usually have that on optimal. I like to have mine on optimal. It depends. It's really, if you're doing a lot of high images, high vector images, turn it on high, but I usually keep it there. This is one again, personally, I tell people to always keep it as size. If you get boxes or stuff like that brought in, this is where things will change. If you set it to auto scale or either ask me every time or keep it size. Never do auto scale. That'll get you in trouble every time. So I would definitely, it's just like I said, you get a box that has the slots and grooves, and you're trying to put stuff together, it just doesn't work and it doesn't slide together. This is usually why, because it gets scaled and things get messed up. So that's how you fix that. People that are AutoCAD people, usually DXF is what this is for. It used to be where you could like get a lot more detailed images, like vectors would be this. Should you turn on? You don't have to turn on if you're never going to use a DXF. It's just handy to have. It just helps when you import files. Obviously, this is your logs. This one here is your parameters. So we'll go over those in a little bit. You can export them out. There's actually two ways. This will save it to your hard drive. There actually is another way to save it to the cloud also, especially if you're a person that uses multiple computers, tablets, stuff like that. If you want your settings saved over multiple things. Obviously, right now, since we've had the latest update, I have not had to use this clear cache. The last one we did, it was just to get things connect. You do have to do this when it's closed. You can't have a file open. It'll walk you through if you clear that. That's what that is for. Obviously, these are drivers. If you have a Mac, I know this file here has been crucial to have. Not always, usually older Macs. So stuff like that. And then obviously your versions. People that have S1, P2, and P2S, this algorithm package, I think F1 Ultra does it too. I recommend you have to actually go in here and actually download this. And then there's another setting we can go to turn on. We go to your laser, and I'll show you guys where that's at. It does help the S1 speed up in engravings and the P2, I think. I can't remember if the P2 is one of them. So it does make them run faster, at least the P2, P2S, and S1. So, and that's the gist of XCS settings. Again, we're going to go through stuff, go across here, obviously save. This is cloud save, so this will save it to your MySpace, whatever's on your workspace. Obviously forward favorite button, Control Z, undo, 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 undo. Don't be scared of it. It's your best friend. Undo and escape. Two best buttons in design. So your canvases, I mean, I have some examples up. We'll go over some of these things, but you can have up to 10 different canvases per file. Only you got to be careful with your canvases is if you put something on your canvas, it doesn't save. It only saves per your name that you saved at the top. So as long as you know where stuff is at, then you can go from there. So, yeah, that too. And then obviously process on slats. I'm gonna do this as a P2 because this is a big one with P2 users. So you have your process on slats, and so process on slats basic. That's what you normally use. I recommend to not use rollers. Rollers are more for if you're doing large stuff now. The chuck is the way to go. It's more repeatable. It's easier to usually use 95% of the time. Don't get wandering, stuff like that. So highly recommend using the chuck. If you're doing large items like dog dishes and stuff, you could technically use the rollers. That's about the only thing I would recommend the rollers for. So slats removed. This was a question that got brought up earlier today. Open space or open plane. That's what this is now. Slats removed. So that is what that is. Obviously your conveyor feeder, curved materials, and then you can also do the curved material rotary. A note under curved material, we're not going to go deep into these ones. Again, if somebody wants to do more one-on-one questioning the next step, we can do that. You are limited to more of a square area when you do these, so round plates, stuff like that. It doesn't let you do those outside corners. So, and then obviously if you're doing screen printing, settings for that, and then honeycomb. So the big question, the difference between honeycomb and process on slats. So process on slats is measuring material thickness. So it knows that the slats are where they're at, thickness of material. So 3 millimeters, blah, blah, blah. Process on honeycomb panel is not. It is not, it will, if you put 3 millimeters in it, your focus is going to be off. Because you got to have, it's a distance now when you go on honeycomb. So you have to do the auto measure, and we'll go over that, or aimed measure. So, and again, here's my thing with the honeycomb. You can either buy a bunch of slats or buy the honeycomb. I actually do like the honeycomb. I do a lot of earrings with my wife. Small earrings. She likes the smaller the better. So it's one of those things. It just helps keep them all on the tray. So if you're doing small items, I recommend the honeycomb. If not, you can get away with the slats. Again, there's other ways. Even if you do the slats and don't have the honeycomb, you can do put a tab on there that just helps it though, so it doesn't fall through also. And again, we'll kind of touch base on that a little bit. I'll show you the examples of what we do. But so that's the list of P2 stuff. Anybody wants to go through any other lasers, let me know. I don't think anything different P2S isn't different. S1 pretty much the same. F1 would be a little bit different, but so nothing really different there. Obviously, this is again only on the P2, P2S, and F1 Ultra. You'll have the camera. Refresh. Took me forever to remember there was one on the F1 Ultra because I was so used to my F1. All those things. So, and we'll go over this. This is something we'll talk about a little bit later. One of the new features. Kind of a little disheartened. I was kind of hoping it was going to do something different. But so this is your basic camera on your P2. Then you have a zoom camera. So this is what you're allotted to. So I'm actually going to show you like out here. So you can see how there's like an edge. You can see that front edge. And this is where people have the discrepancy. They're like, hey, my camera's not aligned right. Well, it's more of a height thing because I actually don't have my thickness set yet. So that makes a big difference too. But you can see the difference when I'm doing it right over top. That difference, that line's gone, and now I have a nice edge. Yes, you might have to like walk your camera around a little bit, but you're more square you can get straight down, the more accurate it's going to be for sure. So just make sure. And then obviously, if you do this and you don't want it there no more, right click and then delete close up. We'll get you back to this screen. Obviously, your thickness, you can type it in. If we know we're on process on slats, we know the material thickness. I can type in 0.118. For some reason, it doesn't like point. I got to tell it. You got to type 0.118, which is 3 millimeters for you guys don't know. So now my height set. You can type it in. Again, obviously, I'm not on slats, so I need to go to on honeycomb. Now it's a distance, so it's not, and this is where I'd actually measure. This is why they don't give you quick measure, I think, because of the slats, because it can't actually grab technically. It is weird. I'm not sure why they don't give you a quick measure. I'm not mad. I don't use it. I don't like it. It's not always accurate. So I like aim, pick a spot, open spot. And this is what I'm saying. So this is the same 3 millimeter material, but it's 890 because you can see it's measuring from the wood, top of the wood to the bottom of the laser. That's why it's a distance. So it does make a difference. Obviously, I'll switch it back to on slat just so you can see. So quick measure, there's, if you look in the upper right hand corner of your laser, when you click this button, you'll see a red dot in the middle of your bed. Obviously, sometimes it'll hit a slat, and sometimes it won't. It can give you a misreading if you're only hitting the slat and not the wood. So that's why I don't like using the quick measure unless you're doing a full sheet. That'd be the only time I would suggest it. I'm pretty sure I'm missing. I'm pretty sure I'm missing. See, actually, see it failed because it went through the slat. So, or through the grating. Let's kind of walk through this up here. So this is where there's kind of your own, it's another settings. Again, if you don't have nothing on your screen, you can go to this little tab, arrow key. This is where you can go back into settings and do that clear cache if you need to. This is any reminders, things are done. No, you cannot turn these reminders off. They will always pop up. You just got to remember to go in here and turn them off. So, and if there's anything that xTool is doing, there's activities like lists or stuff that you can go through. This will show up here. This is a history. So again, if you're running multiple lasers, you know how you're processing one, you want to go back and look, and we'll do that while we do a test on this one here in a little bit. But you can go back and see which one's running. If you have multiple ones, this is where they'll all show up. So you can go here, you click on it, it'll bring you back to that spot, to the processing area. So you want to see how much time's left on that laser. That's what that's for. Obviously, this is our material list. Again, I'm gonna be redundant on some stuff, so bear with me on that. Material tests. Don't set your material. Leave it unknown material. It just makes life easier. just note it what it is if you want. I mean, I don't set material. I feel like it messes things up. I've had better results without it. So this is obviously, these are all base. They're ballparks, they're ideas. They're not set in stone. Just because it says what it is doesn't mean you can't change it. If it doesn't look dark enough, run it a little slower, run a little faster, add more lines per centimeter. There's 10 different ways the guys get to the same results. That's why it's hard when you sit there and ask somebody what they did, and then everybody's laser is a little bit different also. So that's where it's, again, we can get you there, but you got to do your own laser, your own time, your own practicing. So sorry, reading the question, guys. Sean, can you let me know, is that the S1? Those things pop up on me. So obviously this is your tool. You want this green. If this little dot here is not green, means your laser is not connected. Even though it sees it, says it's up there, it won't be connected. So you want to make sure this is green. That means we are connected to your laser. Obviously, this is how you switch between lasers. I have all these in here. I'm not connected. I never use this connect over here. Very rarely. Like this says disconnect right now. Obviously, that says connect. I don't use it. I always go into connect device. And then if you're using USB or Wi-Fi, go that route. If it doesn't show up, like I said, I've had a lot more luck on 2.6. Just keep refreshing. It will show up. So if it doesn't, turn your laser off, turn it back on. And usually I notice it does it refresh. As soon as you refresh, as soon as your laser turns back on, and that usually seems to help. So check because I already got them connected. I don't want to mess with it. And then obviously this is your laser settings. This is the one that obviously will vary and differ from laser to laser to laser. The gist of them are pretty much the same. If you want to rename your laser, obviously this is mine. Your Wi-Fi settings. This is where you got to set up Wi-Fi, firmware, working info. This is obviously one of my older lasers. So my settings. This base plate detection on. If you have a riser, I recommend turning this off. I just turn them off because I mean I know even the one I have here that doesn't have the riser, I still turn it off. Obviously, it's just one of those things. I don't bother me. This feature. So if you're running stuff that's black, like a black business card. Let me pull that up for a second. Probably a dirty business card, so it's probably not going to help me any, but show you guys this real quick. So if we refresh this, so Jacob, I run the Deco mesh system. I have not had any issues with my network lately. Yes, you have to be on 2.4. That is definitely a big thing. It will not connect to a 5 gigahertz system. So sorry, I'm trying to read your stuff here, Sean, a little bit. I just need to know what laser you're looking at, Sean. Is it the P2 or is it S1? What laser do you have? All right, we're gonna finish this up. So right now, there is a black business card on that screen. You can't see it. This is where, again, obviously, if you have the bottom and the slats in, if something's black, you have a black cup, whatever, you can't see it. This is where this feature, again, under device settings or P2, device settings, brightness, background increase, turn it on, close it, refresh your camera. Highly recommend to not leave this on because you throw a piece of board in there and it covers the entire screen, it won't show up. So this is why S1. Okay. That's what I'm thinking too, Jacob, but that's what I'm trying to figure out. He's got the bullseyes or not. So, but anyways, brightness, background. This is what this is for. P2 brightens it up. But again, if I put a piece of wood in there, all you'll see is your normal. It will actually look like this. So this is why I tell you don't leave it on, because it washes it out if you put a board in there with this background brightness on. Turning it back off. Again, if you're, this was one thing, buzzers, if you don't want them, if you're in a room that's people are sleeping, turn the buzzers off. That's for, again, this is on most of the lasers now. You can do this with all of them. Optical test, obviously the P2s. This is where you can test your path. If you have an issue on a P2S, if you go through the whole thing and you tell it it's not right, then the little red dot laser will show up and show you the path. I wish it didn't have to go through and tell it it's not working for it to do that, but that's how that little red laser shows up on the P2S. So obviously fill brightness is just the brightness inside of your laser. I always leave mine at 100% just because. So engrave and cut. P2s, this is the lowest you can go is 30, 100% on cut. If you're doing acrylic, if you're getting jagged edges, I would lower your cut to 50. It helps a lot. P2S users can actually lower their engrave down to 10%. So that is the only difference that helps. It does help. It actually will make some things darker. It's a catch-22. So I should actually try that. Do a little test on that. And then accessory settings. I don't have any accessories on this one. Pretty much it's just a conveyor. Because the P2, you can't connect the AP2 to. You can run it. I have the AP2 and the IP2. So, but I run all through. I got 3 lasers. I run off the IP2 up here. Works great. I love it. Oh, Jacob, I love you, buddy. Of course, I am part of the xTool squad. You can find me on the demo room website. If you go to xTool, go down to demo rooms, I am on there. So if anyone wants one-on-one training, we can do that. There is an option for that on the website. So let's see, what else can we do? Refresh my camera so I can show that it goes back where it should be. That's the gist there. Let's go to the other side real quick. I'm gonna turn this background off anyways because it just gets cluttered. So text, obviously, nice thing now, again, for the older ones, not older ones, wherever you put your crosshairs is where your text shows up. Your fonts are all based off. So xTool has these all ones that are in here. These single line fonts you have to be careful with, because if you select them and they're set to single line like this, they will not engrave. They will only score. So just to be aware of that. That's one little tidbit we've all found out. So let's see what else we got. So what's that? I missed one. Okay. Let's see. So yeah, sorry, I know what you're talking about. But no, you get, these are all xTools. So even if you're on your tablet, your phone, these will all be in there, no matter what. You'll never get a failure. These texts don't show up. This is usually the ones I use when I go to shows, because no matter what laptop I have, whatever I have, this is what's gonna be there, no matter what. But I usually take the same laptop no matter what. So all the way down to here, these are all xTool defaults. Everything past that is whatever is on your laptop. So, and again, there's all kinds of different places. Creative Fabrica, defont.com. Two of the probably the best spots to go find fonts. So highly recommended. So let's that font. I'll go back to this one. So one of the things that was talked about, curving text. This little icon is the icon you use to curve text. Why it floats around sometimes, and it gets hidden sometimes. So it's sometimes it's out here, sometimes it's in the middle. It is out there. So one of the things that somebody, again, reading through the chat today, was like, why is it bending in a certain? Why is it not bending from the center? Well, obviously, this one's bending from the center somewhat. But if you actually go in here and do offset left and bend, it stays and bends only down one side. And if you go right, obviously, it's only gonna go the other side. So that was actually cool. I just learned that one today. So it was a great tip. I think it was Heidi. I think I was one. I found that one and posted it. So, but yeah. So there, and then all the other stuff. So your spacing. So say you have like this, the spacing's huge. We don't want that spacing that big on this little tab. Bring it up. You want to space out your words one way or another. This is a bad font. We'll use a different real quick. Just because. So another feature, which actually kind of handy, I've used it a couple times under this, is this feature. Unfortunately, you can't snap it to a shape yet. It just won't do it. I don't know why. It's kind of annoying. I wish they would, or at least let me put a radius in, but they don't. So this one here is a auto uppercase. So for some reason, the customer wants all their words that you put in there uppercase or lowercase. It's just to switch the button. You just gotta click it. This goes back to lowercase, switch them all to uppercase. So that's a handy tool also. Let's see what else we got. Obviously, you have different, and these all vary from whatever you have. Most xTool stuff will have at least 3 or 4 options in there for that. Let's go like bold. Another thing is actually let's do it regular. Offset actually does work nowadays. These do move out of the way. Before we couldn't do, again, this was 2 updates ago, just bringing it up. You can actually do inner and outer. So obviously this one's too high because my word's not very big. So 5. So it will do inside and outside. Now it does keep them as separate faces. See, they should be all separate. Let's just do this. If you want to learn how to change colors, select your feature, change your color. Just gonna do this for all 3, just so I want to see something. So one of my examples. Anyways, so obviously I got 3 different colors. If you ever want to see where things are on the screen, because in XCS, it's a layer process. Everything's in a layer. Whatever's on top of each other is how some of the Boolean operations work, stuff like that. So this is where, and to see what's on top, and this is why I always tell people to design and engrave in the engrave feature, not in score or cut, just because you can see stuff better. So if I go to engrave, there's my blue layer. My purple's in front of the blue layer. It's probably going to be the front also. So blue. Now, if you want to bring the blue layer to the front, that's what this little icon right here is for. Bring to the front, or you can always go check something else too there. That's right, the red's the inner. Bring to the front. See, it did do it weird. This is sometimes why we do this. So we check. So like right here, I missed the something's missing in my inner bar. Score. Another purple. Options. There's ways to fix that stuff. That's what's nice about this now is we can then go in there and fix this stuff. And because it's a word, we can go in here and go release. So now you can see how it put a box around this. Now it is separate. Same thing with this. Now it's separate. Now if I go to engrave, it's gonna show because it's purple still. Again, we can dive into their stuff. This is where I start getting into tangents. People that normally watch me, they understand. Sorry for the new people. It just happens. I go down wormholes sometimes. Yes, it does. I know they can't. They just feel like I'm talking to myself. So it's just a selection. Again, things are gotta be different faces. That's why, two different faces. And I know people say use subtract. I'm just a big fan of subtract and overlap just because as long as the things are overlapping, it's gonna cut through. It doesn't matter if it's front of it or behind it. It's easier to explain to people. That's how we get these things out. Um, but I don't have to do all those. But that's what that is. So I'm grabbing the inside of the circle, holding shift, grabbing your outside of your circle, and then hitting subtracted overlap, and that usually gives you that ring, your ornament design, your clearance. So now this purple is a solid, not you know something different. Now we'll have all these at. So now if we do this, these all should be at different layers on top of each other now. Are still mad at me. And that is a red layer. Let's look. See if Jacob made a good point here. Text. Just do a new one. Offset. Because I know there's the outer shapes only, but I don't think there's anything about eating up the. So let's see. It's just outer shapes only. This will eliminate. It gets weird. In this sense, because I wouldn't do the offsets on these, it only did it on the inside O on this setup. So John, I'll try to remember to answer your question for the end of the thing. So the biggest and if Sean is still there, if not, you can message me or whatever. I need to know if you have the targets too. The targets what lets you use your camera on an S1. You have to have the little round targets to calibrate stuff. So I don't use it. I actually like the crosshairs better. Again, so some people that don't know, XCS S1, you get a little crosshairs. Again, this is where I go off on tangents. Again, this is nice. Laser moves, crosshairs moves. That's what's nice about this. This is why I don't really care if I have a camera, because I know that crosshairs is the upper right corner of wherever I put anything, and that's where it's going to start from. So, anyways, back to our normal scheduled stuff. All right, tangent. We'll go off. Again, there's all kinds of different stuff, and we'll go deeper into this stuff. But you can thicken words up. That's where some people have asked, and that's how you do it. You do the outer, inner, obviously, how big your stuff is. Sometimes I like going in here and blowing stuff up just because I don't like working in small areas. Don't make your stuff small, make it big. Because again, you have all this work area. You don't have to use this is just what goes to the laser. You still can use all this out here. So do note though, if you put a bunch of earrings all over the place, it will slow your computer down. Just note to yourself. So, anyways, and you can't find them. Hotkey line hit L. You get your line. You hold shift. It does a straight line. You're handy. You hit R. Does a rectangle. You want a perfect square. You hold shift. It'll do a perfect square. Obviously, C. Do an ellipse. Hold shift. It does a perfect circle. So now again, I don't have snap on. You can see nothing snapping right now. If I hit Control R, now it's going to snap the center of the workspace. This is snapping to, so right there, it's snapping to the center. So now I'm center of that blue line. So there is all kinds of different ways to find things, and there's some other stuff we'll go through, one of my tricks at the end. So, um, but again, we can go over so many stuff. Want to go, let's do this again. I like changing colors just so it makes it easier to see some examples. We'll go through some of these Boolean operations real quick. Again, this is why I tell people to always do this kind of stuff in Engrave. So right now, if I do this green circle over this circle, if I hit subtract, it's going to cut it away. You got to think everything like a cookie cutter. It's easiest way to explain everything. Because if I do this one, and then try to hit subtract, it should yell at me. It didn't. It never wants to cooperate with me, I swear. That shouldn't work. Maybe they fixed it. I don't know. This could be a benefit in the new update. Maybe it doesn't matter. I know selection supposed to make a difference, so maybe because I'm selecting that one first. Obviously, select them both. Union. Obviously, that unions together. Man, I'll bring this out and see if it makes a difference. It probably doesn't because it's just doing it that way. Because now I bet you if I do this subtract, it's going to go the other way. I'll just cut it out. But it does look like order does not matter now. Interesting. It's handy. Good to know. Where's this one fail? So whatever's overlapped will disappear. So that's what subtract overlap is. So so the other feature people have asked about is I want to trim out the outside of the circle. You know, usually they do this with ornaments. You want the outside ornament. That's what this united overlap is. Again, I wish they'd just call it trim. That's what it is. But if you click there, it cuts off whatever's outside of the circle. So obviously it deletes everything else. So you got to have copies of stuff. That was one of the other things they did. I like to use offset. I know they don't, because even they do the copy paste. So if I do copy paste, this is what they've done now. Again, if I just do paste, it just, you can keep, like, I might be wrong. Now I gotta look at this. So if I do this one, I do copy, Control V. Yeah, it brought it down and it's off a little bit. And that's where I don't like it because I want to be able to put it right directly over top. Obviously, the same one, you can always just align it center to center. It'll be fine. But if I don't, if I just go in here and I go offset, and I just set it to 0. Again, this was what we used to do before you had all the good offsets. It's there. You can go in here and change the color. And now I have two of them that are exactly over top each other. And again, there was somebody else asking about doing it for cut pass. That's how you do it. And then you can just grab it by, you know, your different layers down here. Or you can do it from your layer lever, which I can't grab. It's just going to bug the living snot out of me. I can't grab my layers. Maybe I can. So obviously there's your layers. So now you can grab what you want, cut. All right, let's see. Me and my tangents. Obviously, this is the layer level. There's all kinds of different ways to do this. If we have a bunch of different things. It does. So if you are running ornaments and you're running multiple, turn another tab here. Go back to the first one. If I copy this one, and you can see it's 10.17 by 2.29. This is your XYZ. So upper right hand corner. So this corner right here, that's what the XYZ is for. If I go down here and if I hit paste, 10.17, 2.909. That is an update. It's one of the new features. This was not before. So This is definitely a benefit to be able to go from, screen to screen to screen. Especially if you're doing the layered ones. But again, now if I added another one, it does drop it down on the same screen. But from screen to screen, it actually keeps location now. So it's very handy. That. Speaking of, again, if you have circle, circle, again, if you want two things to be center, obviously, if you go up here, I'm gonna say obviously, people that are new, they have center. This is where it's hard for me. I've been doing this for a little bit. Again, I'm trying to do this for the people that are just getting into this stuff. Obviously, Jacob's awesome. There's a lot of us on Facebook that will help you out. Just ask questions. I know people like to go right to xTool and say, hey, it's sport, help me out. You're going to get more answers if you ask the question in the Facebook message groups. I'm telling you, 95% you'll get your answer question or somebody will help you. That's what I love about the community. So, but anyways, center, align center. I mean, now again, it's two separate individual entities. There's still not, you can't, there's just a circle on top of a circle. There's no hole there. It looks like there's a hole there, but it's not. But if I go and I cut it, there will be a hole there. Again, this is where the design process is a little different than most things. So you got to think about it in a different way. You got to think of them as always being solids. That's why I tell people to do this in engrave, because this is what they are. It's two solids on top of each other. There's no hole there. And if you want a hole, subtract it. Now there's a hole. Now you can add something inside there. If you want to add that butterfly, go to shapes. So this is where you have a list of either shapes or borders, and there's stuff inside of each of these. So don't just think of what's sitting here as what you have. There's all kinds of options in these things. So if I go down here to animals, yes, two pancakes. Again, you want to put this butterfly in here. And I got this butterfly. And again, this is where I like to do two things on top of each other. And this is for more of a design purpose. Because what I would do is do this. I'd go offset, make a copy, perfect copy. Right now it's pick the copy. So this is right now where we go when we right click, change the layer so I know what it is. Because then I can just pick purple layer, which is just these two things. Union. But this is why I leave the yellow layer. So let's hide that real quick. If I go in here and I hide this yellow layer, you can see it union together. But again, this is why I keep another layer on top of this. So what I would do, either you can go in there and trim it, you can just score this layer. So now this will look like it's sitting on top of your piece there. That's why we go back and do that. Trying to see where you're going with that, Jacob. So am I missing one? Yeah, I already did that one. All right. So again, list of stuff. Let's see. Pen tool. This is another one. As you can see, whenever you have something on the screen, if there is something you want to trace, obviously you can just trace it. Whatever, trace a feature that's already been made. But it does give you a shadow. Even if you have a picture on there, it'll give you a shadow of it like this, where you can trace something. This is where this feature is handy. You can throw something up here and just trace it. Now I have a copy. Again, we'll do a basic shape like this, but there's an ability. Obviously, there's other options. There's all kinds of different node editing abilities, stuff like that. This is more like if you're doing a PNG. Now it's technically an SVG. There's an example we'll do here in a second about that. Let's see. What else do I have? Obviously, this is your mirror. Reflect, make a copy, reflect it either way. So if you want to edit nodes, you click an object and you double click on it. This is your node editing. You know, if you want to go in here and make these antennas longer, you can grab those nodes, move them out, do it separately. This is one of the nice features, you know, and you got to watch your designs. Be careful. There's certain things you can do, certain things you can't do, some things you get. I mean, you can do most things. Just it can get away from you really fast. So just be careful. Hit done. Obviously, it's good. Obviously, my yellow ones are not there no more, so those didn't follow. So again, order of operations. Obviously, want to do that first. I'd remake my thing, my lower one. Let's see what else we got. We'll go through this application tab. Applications very helpful tab. I feel like I'm missing stuff on this up one here though. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything for this one, guys. Did that. Again, we'll go over this one here in a second. Obviously, grouping. If you have something like this, if you don't want to separate because I have two different features in it, you can group them. Obviously, now if I move this, they'll move together. You know, there's a separate one in there. Now, if you did want to do something in this, even though it's grouped, if you go to your layer feature, you hit the group button, you can actually go in here and just select. Now I can select just the one and still edit it just the one if I want, or edit that one or do whatever I want with, you know, change that feature. This is something else that's handy because I have different features. This is where these will show up, and now I can set my parameters. This is another feature that's, you know, the last update I think it came out was this ability. Very handy. You know, it lets you just do different things. I think it was engraved, and it clumps some things together, so you got to be careful what you got. So obviously this one's clumping down two different yellow. This is doing engraved, and I think that's how it kind of breaks it up is those features. So, but very handy to have. Easier than sitting there trying to grab this one feature when I can just go over here and grab it and set the parameters. Different size and shape because I can't make them uniform the same life. I don't know what this question is. All right, talk about that one, Jacob. No, he's not. He's helping me out. All right, what else we got? All right, let's go through this real quick. So obviously grid array. A lot of people know what that really is. Obviously, you just got a grid. Max is 10 by 10. You can go 10 that way by 10 this way. That's the max you can do. Actually, you know what? Let's check. I got it before I tell you that. Yep, it does stop at 10. You can set it to 0 if you want. When you do hit done, it does put them in a group. So they're automatically grouped. So no matter if I click them, they're always going to be grouped. So you do it to ungroup if you want to modify them or do anything with them. Let's see what else we got. So that's that group. Then you know, so you got grid or circle array. This one again is a little bit. It's more of a you need to play with it a little bit just because it's not absolute. It's still off that upper right hand corner, and it's not going to the center circle. Stinks. So X is obviously left and right. Y is up and down. I'll go like 3 by 4. It's the only problem. If I'm zoomed out, it doesn't let me zoom in until I say I'm done. So now so you can change your rotation if you don't want to do full 360, you don't want 8 copies, you want 6 copies. You know, you can do stuff like that too. So you can do this stuff in XCS. Like I said, it's just playing with it and doing it. Some things are easier other softwares, I'm not gonna lie, but I still like XCS myself. Let's see what else we got. That's that. Obviously, material test array. We'll go over this real quick. Again, I just normally hit. Let's move him out of the way. I just do rectangle usually. I'm fond of quarter by quarter. So I just go up here, 0.25, quarter by quarter, select it. You can do a square one. It does vary in sizes and stuff. So I would recommend doing one, especially different types of woods. But engrave, the only thing you really need to adjust if you want to, again, 100 is what a lot of people do. If you want to do 120, those are the two I usually stick around, is those two. But that's the only one you really need to adjust. So you can go over to here, go material test array. And then what I always tell people is I wish this wouldn't default to 100 and power and 10 speed, because that's where fires start happening. So obviously know your materials. Know that you don't want to run this at a 10 speed. I'd go no lower than probably 50, between 30 and 50, maybe 30. Again, if you want to run it that high, you can. I know what's good, what's bad. I'd say stick around like the 300 realm. 10 by 10. Honestly, I would never engrave it 100% power either. It's another one I wish they would just default it to like 60 or less. So then that's your test. So again, this is another where the benefit of the stuff on the side helps, because now you can see that this is every box without having, this is still grouped together. So I got every box that's here. Now, if you want to change the words at the very bottom, so you go all the way to the very bottom, that's your score set. So either you can darken it, you can ungroup them now. It just says group, but if you want to edit that at all. So let's see. Yeah. I did that. So now you can change that. If you want to say it's Baltic birch or whatever you want to do. I do notice that some of these, that's why I tell people to check the settings for the text sometimes is not desirable. So check it. It's either, I mean, you can always change it to engrave and not do, but obviously, you're looking for a test. So it's one of those things. I do agree with you on that material test array though for the F1 series. So, but again, this works for all the lasers. So just make sure, again, don't run it at a super low speed at a high power. It's like my number one. Please don't do. You'll figure out how fires start. Especially if you're doing leather and wood. Those are the two that. That's a good update. I like that. Thank you, Jacob. Let's see what else we got. We got some new features. We'll go over the smart nesting here in a minute. I was hoping this was gonna be better than it shows. P2 uses a use batch fill. I don't use it that much in this one. I use it a lot on the F1 Ultra. And again, you can batch off the bed and you can batch off the roller. So like same with this one, you can batch off the bottom of the tray. I think you have to be off the bottom of the tray. No, they're gonna make me look. It's not gonna batch because I don't have my cards in there. But it needs to find material. I don't have anything in there right now. So, and you can take it. It does need to be on a network. You do have to be on Wi-Fi for the batch to work. So it does go local, but I seem to have more issues when I go local. So it is slower and it doesn't always line up perfectly. It works better than it used to. So it's again, trial and error. You got to try stuff. So, measurement tool. This actually is very handy. I mean, if you just got two things you want to measure, obviously, the better you can keep it. So, click an edge. It'll go to the closest edge. It'll give you a dimension. So it is handy. It's something we've asked for. It works. I'm not mad about it. So that's that. And then Map Designer. Obviously, this is a plugin kind of thing. So it kind of just integrates into it. It is cool. Um, at first, I wasn't sure because it didn't do exactly. I'm more of a topography. I do see that, but it's big time. You got to go and set up laser map maker. So you got to go in, go through the question stuff, go through it. If you set it up right, it works great. So I'm not gonna walk through this. We could maybe do another video on this one itself. So maybe I'll collaborate with somebody on this one. I know somebody that makes really cool multi-layer map stuff, especially for coins. So and then so the nesting. This was kind of disheartening a little bit, unfortunately. So nesting, they show examples. Again, I'm basing this off the Metal Fab one, which kind of sucks. So if you click right now, I just got a bunch of shapes. I just threw on the screen here. Um, they show it kind of nesting out on all these cutout spots. It's not what it is, unfortunately. No, I'm not still mad about maps. Stop it. You're gonna do a thing with me. Anyways, so again, big thing. They show the thing on Metal Fab commercial. It like kind of filling in between all these loose areas. That's what I was kind of hoping it was going to do. Unfortunately, it does not do that. If you go to smart nesting, you have to put in the size of your material. So if I say it's 12 by 12, auto rotate, auto ungroup. So like these aren't groups, so I don't have that checked. But to be the best fit, we'll do auto rotate and then treat contain element. So if you have something that has a hole inside of it, it would pull itself out. Again, this is where the nice thing, if you hover over top, kind of explains it, what they are, what it does. So now if I hit start nesting, it does puts it in a 12 by 12 area as tight as it possibly can. But like I said, it doesn't let you avoid areas, kind of like that commercial shows. So little disheartening, but it's better than nothing. So even if I still had a piece, it's still let me fill it out to max what you want to get out of it. So obviously doing a bunch of the same thing over and over, it's definitely going to be beneficial. So I wish maybe they give you an option to do an area. It does give you, so this downset packing, it does give you the option of putting bigger space. If you want to go bigger space right now, it's pretty much line for line, those close as you possibly can get. So that's what that is for. So where we at? 10:09. Not doing too bad. That's one of those new features. The laser map designer's new feature, and even the placement. So the copy paste. That's one of the new features that's in this update. Again, if people got questions, please put them in the comments. We will go over them, stuff like that. I think I've covered most of that stuff. One thing, again, we can start going into a little bit of masking and stuff like that. So some editing stuff like this right here. This is a PNG file, a photo file, but it's a black and white. It's clean is what we'll call it. It's not a photo. But maybe I want to edit this file, but it's PNG. I can't edit this. So you can see at the top, I get different options. There actually is some cool stuff. We'll go over some of these on another photo here in a second. But I want to edit this PNG file. So with this file, I can just go to trace, and 95% of the time, they're like this file, it will trace really, really well. So what you say, save. Now we have an exact copy, and now it's a SVG file that I could edit and do all the nice fun stuff too. So say I want to, remove these white spots on his face. I can go up here and go release now. So now all of these extra little spots are all removable. I can grab this one, drag it off, grab this one, drag it off, and then maybe I want to go in here and clean these up. I don't like this on his nose. Just double click. Now we're node editing. Here I'm gonna delete these off. I'm gonna delete all these off. Let's delete that one. And you can play with these nodes. This one right now is set to be two. Each angle has a different thing. You can see that snapping too. Maybe I don't want that snap on. Hit Control R, turn that snap off. Same thing here. Just to clean it up. I didn't like the way that looked a little bit. Maybe I didn't like the way I was going to go together. So now we got that done. Now I can select this whole thing again. And I can go up in there and get make compound vector. So basically it turns it back. Now it's one feature. When I say it's one feature, it's not, individual, one engrave. And now that's that difference. And I just updated that PNG file. And we can go, do something different with that. So that's one of those features with the PNG, the edit, release, this kind of stuff. And then you can do the edit and not actually release it. So there's tricks with that too. It's actually node edit. So this is where another thing with the scissor. So there's a scissor command. It's not a cut. Don't use it as a cut command, please. It will cause you more headache than anything else. It's not what it's for. If you want to cut something, let's use some good example here. I don't want to just go in here and trim this, and trim all this, like this top of his head down. I don't want to do that. It's going to leave a void. It'll do something. In this case, it probably won't be that bad just because of the way it's not cutting through and all that, doing all that stuff. But you do leave an open void. It does close off voids now, so it's not terrible. But highly recommend if you're going to do something like that is to, again, release this. Go back to score. I mean, I'm a big fan of the pen tool to do this kind of stuff. And again, I know this feature, it doesn't matter if I'm all the way over here or go up here, if I just want to trim like this top part of his head part of his head thing off. It doesn't matter if it's over the other stuff. I'm only doing this feature and this feature. Doesn't matter if I'm touching everything else. Tracked. And now I can go in here and node edit these. And if you double click on these, it always goes to square. We want to bring this down a little farther. Again, this is where this feature is handier than handy. Back to me. So again, edit like that. Don't use erase. Would it have worked in that scenario? Probably. So again, we're gonna go back to there's always a bunch of different ways. We all can get there in different ways. So don't take what I tell you is God. It's not. There's always a different way that might be better. So, but there's options. So that's again PNG to an SVG. And again, usually it's the black and white photos. If anything's black and white, it makes it way easier just to edit, to trace, all that stuff. So, photos. This is another nice thing. These are my two puppies. They have done some really cool stuff. This is another hot topic that's all over the thing about this. This is not God. Yes, AI is doing this. Yes, they cost you credits. It does a great job. It's technically worth the credits. But and there's ways to get credits besides buying them. You can make files for Design Find, and that's how you get more credits. And I think that's why they're doing a little bit of this. Again, it works really, really good. Do I have to do it? No. You can go back, click manual cutout, do it the old school way. There's a couple different ways. This fuzziness is again, it's more of an area. There's again 5 different ways to do this. The magic wand is nice because again, whatever's that shade of the color, it will delete it. Obviously, too close to their dogs. So this undo is over here. Undo, turn that fuzziness down. Put that one. Again, that's where it's obviously nice with that AI. It definitely works really well. It really does. I've done a couple of them right now, and it does a really good job. And there's ways to do this too. I mean, you can go in here and do the eraser, and as long as you get close around them, it won't grab into the dog. That's another trick I've kind of learned. You know, obviously I gotta get closer anyways, but you can make them smaller. And you can zoom right in. It's another nice thing. I mean, I can get super close and do this. Obviously, if you want to be sit there and be tedious, this is where, like I said, paying for that stuff is worth it. It does a great job. So just let people know this is the old school way, the way we're all used to doing it. So you don't have to use the AI, but it does do a very good job. And again, you can go in there and pick something out, erase something. You know, it does. And see, it didn't like grab the hair real well right there. So I mean, there's some stuff that, but still, it still feathered it out really well. So I'm not mad about it at all. So that is an option. Another feature it is handy. You know, obviously it costs us credits, but some photos that would be great on. Trace feature. I don't ever trace photos. It's not worth it. Not worth the headache. Filters. I know there was a new one I thought that just came out. There's AI filters. Again, they workish. I'm not super fond of them. It is well worth saving time. I wish these these AI ones, I wish worked a lot better than they did. I did one the other day. Listen, I'll even eat those credits on this one. This is where, like I said, I wish these would work a little bit better. I don't know if I gotta change it. It just see if this one works better. I think I did the line drawing one and it made it very cheesy. It's like that one's not terrible. At least it still looks like my dogs. The other one did not. It totally made them look nothing like the dogs. It was the most basic. So no, this was not bad. I'm not mad at this generation. So again, it's playing with it. It's worth the credits, you know. It is weird because I know I have different credits, but these credits aren't the same as store credits. So if you know the difference, Jacob, maybe you can help it out. But these are different credits. These are, again, like we used to, again, before Design Find got kicked off, we all used to like help put stuff out to Design Find, give people stuff to do, programs, stuff like this, where we helped out in the community, answer questions. We got credits for them. I think this is kind of the same thing. This is what those credits are for. So, and then that's how you get them. It's in that realm of helping in the community, helping Design Find do stuff is how you're going to gather your credits. So now, so you have all kinds of different options when it comes to this stuff. So now, so you got your filters. I'm actually going to undo this, which kind of sucks. I'm wasting that credit, but so the other thing that did actually hop in this one, obviously you have the enhance. Again, it does cost credits. It does help though. And then the adjustment actually, they did add tint into this one, which actually is very handy. I think it helps. If you ever want to change a photo to just black and white, you pull this down just a hair, it automatically goes black and white. You pull the right side of grayscale down, it makes your photo brighter. You pull the left side up, it makes your photo darker. So that's how you kind of play with that a little bit. A lot of photos I do, I like to run in the 200-ish realm area. That's me. Everybody's a little bit different. Sharpness, I like to turn up. And again, I'm playing with tint and, you know, the brightness. A lot of these you can play with. If you're doing coasters, anything with a black background, the business cards, obviously you want to go invert because obviously what's white is what's going to get graved away. So They do not refund the credits right now. At least they haven't the 2 times I've undone them. They still keep my credits. So that is something maybe we can talk to some people about. So yeah, especially they used to. I know they used to. If you undid stuff, they would give you the credits back, but it don't seem like it's been doing that. So, but no, that is definitely a new thing. Crop. See if that's anything different. This is actually new. They didn't have this before. I mean, they did, but it was a little bit different. Well, still a little different. Crop photo. So, so where we at time wise? Well, Jacob, I appreciate all your questions and playing, helping me out. So, let's see, offset. So, if people don't know, you can offset a photo, sort of, the border. So you can always offset the outside of a PNG file, even if it's the shaped one. So, obviously this is square. It's only going to offset the square. Let's say I want to go in here and this is my PNG file. I can offset this PNG file. It will do the shape of the dog. Like here, I only want the outside of him. So I don't want the inside. So it's going to do just the outside. Now that's my cut. I can engrave it. Now I can cut it. So that's that. Let's see if there's anything else down in here. So one of the other things, so a couple of other tips and tricks, a little bit. Some people don't know about. Again, we're gonna wrap this up in the next 8 to 10 minutes. There is guidelines now. A lot of people don't know that. If you grab the ruler area, you actually can pull out guidelines. If you pull out a second guideline, and then you have snap on. Let's convert it and actually do it. So it is up on top. I used to, yeah. So if I have my snap on, you see how there's a measurement there now. I wish I could type in that measurement and set it to exactly that amount. It doesn't let me do that, unfortunately. That would be an awesome additional feature if we could do that, but we can get close at least. Same thing from the top. You can pull these down. You'll get that dimension. Now, the other nice thing is about this is you can actually take this now and I can snap to those corners. So now I know right there I'm where I should be. Again, one of those things, but it's definitely handy. It's handy to be able to do more design in a relationship form. It definitely makes designing easier. I use this to make a lot of boxes now, and I know there's a lot of box tools, but there was a specific one I needed to make, so it just helped me out and it worked really well. So that's where I like using these. The only thing you can do is the right click. It just deletes guidelines or delete all guidelines. When you right click on them. So, and you can have as many guidelines down there as you want. So it doesn't affect anything. A lot of people, so all the lasers have this ability, have an ability under processing. I'm gonna go over this. I'm gonna go over masking in 1 second. I'll do that on my photo real quick. But just touch the three little dots, very powerful area on all the lasers. F1 and F1 Ultra, you get a lot more abilities in there. But by layer is one that you can do. Click that on. Click this on. You go over your layers tabs. See if I can click on it without clicking this annotation. Whatever I have on my list, it goes in this order from top down. So that's where people got to be pay attention, be careful. So like in the F1, that was another thing I want to show you guys. So these are all grouped. I know I'm scrolling myself. So if you do that processing, that batch processing now, smart nesting, you can do the auto ungroup. So I did an 8x8. It'll automatically, obviously, put it in there as well as it possibly can. So another tip. But F1, F1 Ultra, 3 dots, user define, smart. Again, I'm a big fan of smart. I know some people are not. but I it cuts time in half 95% of the time. Highly recommend using it. If you are getting lines in your stuff, you can turn it off, let it print like a normal printer. Right now, Smart basically engraves the same like cut would do. It just follows the word and the letters only. Uh, so that's what this is at. Very good feature. Still haven't made it so they can turn it on and leave it on. Again, wish that would be one I could do. Uh, Another option in framing, again, for the lasers that frame S1, just the F1, F1 Ultra. I didn't want to say that. You can do outline. So you guys know, rectangle is a rectangle. Outline will show you what the feature is. I highly recommend for like words. If you're doing words, I know somebody again was in the chat asking why it doesn't do the words. Yes, I agree with him. If you're doing the smart, if you can crosshatch it, definitely makes it worth it. So, and then one last thing we'll touch on, and then we'll call it a night. Again, if anybody's got any questions, I don't know who's still on, who's watching. It says I got like 8 viewers right now. So, we go to canvases, masking. Again, if you put a shape on here, or my puppies. Here in a minute. So if I select my one SVG file and one PNG file, you get this to create a mask and create a mask. Now I can move this in here if I want to move it around a little bit. Hit done. It's going to trim it. Now it does, you do lose the heart. So this is where I'm a big advocate of make a copy. Yeah, I guess I gotta do it before I do this, but because I wish this would be another option they gave us to keep our cut abilities. Would be another highly beneficial, but that's how you do mask. Now, if you want to do something where, so my puppy's dog name is Luna. We're gonna add her name in here real quick. Let's say I want that to be like maybe engraved on the backside, in a different font. What I can do, again, you only can mask with one SVG, one PNG file. So to do that in this sense, I want to say I want to leave, I can get fancy with their font. Again, just offset, outside only. I'm not sure why it does that there. We can fix that though. So outside, get rid of this little box right here. So now if I take this and I subtract it from this, now if I take this, my photo, hit create mask, it creates a mask. I'm done. And now Luna is engravable. So now you can actually engrave Luna in the side. And that's how you kind of do the cutouts. You got to do it as a cutout feature. It's a little bit backwards. But again, if anybody's got any questions, you can find me on xTool's demo host on the website. I should probably put that link in there too. So, or reach out to me. I'm always on the Facebook messengers. If you guys got anything good out of this, please subscribe. I appreciate it if you do. I'm gonna try to go through and update some of the older videos to obviously the newer updates. We'll get some more out there. Again, it's just work a day job, do this, try to run the laser business, do demos. It gets busy. So I appreciate you guys. Again, if you guys have any questions, reach out. All righty, guys. Have a good night.